I never thought I would find myself standing in the emergency room at 3 a.m., holding a stranger's hand while he bled out on a gurney. But that's exactly where my life led me the night everything changed. His name was Connor, and he looked at me with eyes that held more fear than pain. He whispered something I couldn't hear over the chaos of the ER. I leaned closer, my daughter Lily pressed against my back in her carrier, her warmth steadying my shaking hands. "Help me," he said. "Please don't let them take her." I didn't understand. I should have walked away. Instead, I squeezed his hand and promised him something I had no right to promise. The monitors beeped frantically. A nurse rushed past. Connor's grip tightened. His scent hit me like a wave. Alpha pheromones mixed with blood and antiseptic. My Omega instinct screamed. Every nerve in my body told me to run. Omegas like me didn't get involved with dying alphas. We didn't make promises to strangers. We survived by staying invisible. But his eyes held mine with such desperate clarity that I couldn't move. "They'll come for Zoe," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Don't let them find her. Please. She's in the car. Blue sedan. Parking lot. Section C. Row 12. My heart stopped. A child. He was talking about a child. Before I could ask anything else, his hand went limp. The monitors flatlined. Medical staff swarmed around us. Someone pulled me back, and I stumbled into the hallway with Lily still strapped to my chest. My mind raced as I looked toward the exit. Every logical part of me said to leave, to forget what he said, to protect my daughter and walk away from whatever mess this man had dragged into my life. But I thought about a child alone in a car in a dark parking lot. I thought about how terrified she must be. I made a choice that would unravel everything I thought I knew about safety. I walked to the parking lot. If you are enjoying the story so far, subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen next. Your support means everything. The night air bit at my skin as I moved quickly through rows of cars. My breath came out in short clouds. Lily stirred against me but didn't wake. I reached section C and counted rows. When I found row 12, I saw it. A blue sedan with fogged windows. I approached slowly, my hand trembling as I tried the door. Unlocked. I opened it carefully. The dome light revealed a small girl curled in the back seat. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Her dark curls stuck to her tear-stained face. She wore pink pajamas with stars. Her eyes opened when the cold air rushed in, and she looked at me with the same silver-gray eyes her father had. "Where's Daddy?" she whispered. My throat tightened. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't know what to say to a child who had just lost everything. So I did what my instincts told me. I climbed into the back seat and pulled her into my arms. She clung to me immediately, her small body shaking with sobs. "It's okay," I whispered. "I've got you. You're safe now." I had no idea if that was true. I had no idea what I had just gotten myself into. But holding her felt right in a way that defied logic. Lily shifted in the carrier. Zoe pulled back and looked at the baby with wide eyes. "Who's that?" she asked. "This is Lily. She's my daughter. I'm Derek." Zoe touched Lily's tiny hand with careful fingers. "Are you going to take care of me now?" The question hit me like a punch. I could barely take care of myself and Lily. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled like mildew. I worked 2 jobs. I had $17 in my bank account. I couldn't take in another child. It was impossible. "Yes," I said. "I'll take care of you." The lie came out so easily I almost believed it myself. I carried both girls to my car and buckled Zoe into the back seat next to Lily's car seat. I drove without knowing where I was going, my hands gripping the wheel too tightly. My mind spun with questions. Who was Connor? Why did he think someone would come for Zoe? What had I just walked into? I glanced in the rearview mirror. Zoe stared out the window with blank eyes. She looked so small, so lost. I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner. I needed to think, needed to figure out what to do next. Inside, I ordered coffee and hot chocolate for Zoe. We sat in a corner booth. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A tired waitress refilled my cup without asking. Zoe sipped her hot chocolate slowly. She didn't speak. I tried to think of something to say, something that wouldn't scare her more than she already was. Zoe, I started. Do you know why your daddy brought you to the hospital? She shook her head, her eyes filling with tears again. He said we had to go. He said bad people were coming. He drove really fast. Then he stopped the car and told me to hide. He said someone nice would find me. My stomach dropped. Bad people. Connor hadn't been in an accident. Someone had hurt him, and now they would be looking for Zoe. I needed help. I needed someone who could protect us. But I had no one. My family had disowned me when I presented as Omega and got pregnant with Lily. My friends had disappeared when I needed them most. I was alone. Except I wasn't alone anymore. I had 2 children depending on me. I paid the bill and drove to my apartment. I carried both girls upstairs. Zoe looked around the small space with curious eyes. I set up a makeshift bed on the couch with blankets and pillows. She climbed in without complaint. Lily slept in her crib in the corner of my bedroom. I sat on the floor between them and tried to process everything. I had kidnapped a child. No, I had rescued her. Connor had asked me to protect her. But the police wouldn't see it that way. If anyone found out, I would lose Lily. I would go to jail. Zoe would end up in the system. I had to keep her hidden, at least until I figured out what Connor had been running from. The next morning came too quickly. Lily woke me with her usual hungry cries. I fed her while Zoe slept on the couch. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains. Everything looked normal, peaceful, as if my entire life hadn't shifted overnight. Zoe stirred around 8. She sat up slowly and looked around like she'd forgotten where she was. Then her face crumpled as reality crashed back. I want my daddy, she whispered. I know, sweetie. I know. I made her breakfast, cereal and toast. She picked at it without eating much. I turned on cartoons to distract her. It didn't work. She just stared at the screen with empty eyes. I needed to go to work. I couldn't afford to miss a shift. But I couldn't leave Zoe alone. I couldn't take her with me either. My boss barely tolerated me bringing Lily when my sitter canceled. Showing up with 2 kids would get me fired. I called in sick. My manager sounded annoyed but didn't push. I hung up and felt the weight of lost wages settle on my shoulders. I couldn't keep doing this. I needed a plan. I pulled out my phone and searched for Connor's name. Nothing useful came up. I tried searching for recent accidents or incidents. Still nothing. Whoever had hurt him had been careful or powerful enough to keep it quiet. A knock at my door made me freeze. My heart hammered. I looked through the peephole. A man in a dark suit stood in the hallway. He looked official. Dangerous. He knocked again. Derek Sullivan? He called. I need to speak with you. I backed away from the door. Zoe looked up from the couch, her eyes going wide with recognition. She knew him. Hide, I whispered. Now. She scrambled off the couch and ran into my bedroom. I heard the closet door close. Lily started to fuss. I picked her up and held her close. The man knocked again, harder this time. Mr. Sullivan, I know you're in there. We just want to talk. There were more of them. I'm calling the police, I shouted. The man laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. Go ahead. Call them. But you might want to think about what you'll tell them. About how you kidnapped a child last night. About how you left the scene of a crime. My blood ran cold. He knew. He knew everything. Connor James was a very bad man, the voice continued. He stole something that didn't belong to him. We just want it back. Give us the girl and we'll forget you were ever involved. I looked at my bedroom door. Zoe was in there, terrified, alone. Connor had died trying to protect her. He had trusted me with his last breath. No, I said, my voice shaking but forcing it steady. She's not here. I don't know what you're talking about. Silence. Then footsteps. They were leaving, but I knew they would be back. I waited 5 minutes before I moved. I grabbed my phone and my keys. I pulled Zoe out of the closet. We have to go, I said. Right now. I threw clothes and diapers into a bag. I grabbed the small amount of cash I kept hidden in a coffee can. $300. Enough for a few days if I was careful. I strapped Lily into her carrier and took Zoe's hand. We left through the back stairs. I kept looking over my shoulder. No one followed. I reached my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. Zoe sat quietly in the back seat. She looked at me through the rearview mirror. "Are they going to hurt us?" she asked. "No," I said. "I won't let them." Another promise I had no right to make. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would do in Sophie's situation. And do not forget to subscribe because this story is about to get even more intense. I drove for hours sticking to back roads. I paid for gas with cash. I bought food at a drive-thru and kept moving. Zoe fell asleep. Lily dozed in her car seat. I was running on adrenaline and fear. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. Finally, I answered. "Derek," a woman's voice said. "My name is Dr. Reese. I was Connor's physician. I know what happened last night. I know you have Zoe. Please listen to me carefully. You're in danger. They won't stop looking for her." "Who are you?" I asked. "How did you get this number?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that Connor trusted you. He must have seen something in you. Something good. But you need help. You can't run forever." "I don't know who to trust," I said. "Trust me. I worked with Connor for 3 years. I know what he was trying to do. I know why he died. And I know how to keep Zoe safe. But you have to meet me. Tonight. There's a place 2 hours north of the city. A safe house. I'll text you the address." "How do I know this isn't a trap?" "You don't," she said. "But what choice do you have?" She hung up. A text came through with an address. I stared at it. Every instinct told me not to trust her. But she was right. I had no other options. I drove north. The sun set behind us. The road stretched dark and empty ahead. I thought about turning back, about going to the police, about trying to explain. But I knew how that would end. They would take Zoe. They would take Lily. I would lose everything. I kept driving. The safe house turned out to be a cabin deep in the woods. No neighbors. No streetlights. Just trees and darkness. I parked and sat for a moment. This felt wrong. But everything felt wrong now. I carried Lily and held Zoe's hand as we walked to the front door. It opened before I could knock. A woman in her 50s stood there. She had kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun. She wore jeans and a sweater. She looked normal. Safe. "Derek," she said. "Thank God you made it. Come in. Quickly." We stepped inside. The cabin was small but warm. A fire crackled in the fireplace. The furniture looked worn but comfortable. Dr. Reese closed the door and locked it. She knelt down to Zoe's level. "Hello, sweetheart," she said softly. "Do you remember me?" Zoe nodded. "You gave me a lollipop at Daddy's work." "That's right." She smiled. "You can call me Sarah. You're safe here. I promise." She looked at me, her expression turning serious. "We need to talk. Can the girls rest for a moment?" She led us to a small bedroom. I put both girls on the bed. They were exhausted. Zoe curled around Lily protectively. The sight made my chest ache. Sarah and I went back to the living room. She poured 2 cups of tea and handed me one. I didn't drink it. "Tell me everything," I said. "Who was Connor? What did he steal? Why do they want Zoe?" Sarah sighed and sat down heavily. "Connor worked for a pharmaceutical company. Meridian Corporation. Have you heard of it?" I shook my head. "They're one of the largest biotech firms in the world." Connor was a researcher. He discovered something that would change everything we know about omega biology. A way to suppress heats permanently without side effects. A way to level the playing field between alphas, betas, and omegas. I felt cold. That kind of discovery would be worth billions. It would shift power dynamics across society. Alphas would lose their biological advantage. Omegas would gain autonomy. Meridian wanted to bury it, Sarah continued. They profit from suppressants that barely work. From heat clinics. From keeping omegas dependent. Connor refused to destroy his research. So they tried to kill him. He ran. He took Zoe because he knew they would use her against him. My hands shook. Why me? Why did he trust me? Sarah smiled sadly. Connor was a good judge of character. He saw you helping people in that ER. He saw how you cared for your daughter. He knew you would protect Zoe when he couldn't. I set down the tea. This is insane. I'm nobody. I can't fight a corporation. You don't have to fight them, Sarah said. You just have to keep Zoe alive long enough for me to get Connor's research into the right hands. He sent me copies before he died. Encrypted. Hidden. If I can get them to the media, to independent researchers, Meridian can't bury it. But they're watching me. They're waiting for me to make contact with Zoe. That's why you have to stay here. Out of sight. Just for a few days. A few days turned into a week. Then 2. Sarah came and went. She brought supplies. Food. Clothes for the girls. She told me to be patient. To trust her. But I was starting to wonder if I had made a terrible mistake. The cabin felt smaller each day. Zoe asked about her father less but cried herself to sleep most nights. Lily grew fussy from being cooped up inside. I paced the small space and tried not to think about everything I had lost. My apartment. My jobs. My life. Sarah arrived on the 14th day with news. I'm meeting a journalist tomorrow. Someone I trust. Once the story breaks, you'll be safe. Meridian won't risk coming after Zoe when the world is watching. Relief flooded through me. Finally, this nightmare would end. But that night I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. I lay in bed and listened to the wind outside. To the creaking of the old cabin. To my own racing thoughts. Then I heard it. Car engine. Far away but getting closer. I got up and looked out the window. Headlights cut through the darkness. Multiple vehicles. Moving fast toward the cabin. My heart stopped. They had found us. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because you need to see what happens next. This story is far from over. I ran to the bedroom and shook Zoe awake. She looked at me with sleepy confusion. We have to go, I whispered. Right now. No questions. I grabbed Lily and pulled Zoe to her feet. We ran to the back door. I could hear the vehicles getting closer. Doors slamming. Voices shouting. I pushed through the door and into the dark woods. The cold hit like a slap. Zoe whimpered. I pulled her close. Run, I said. Stay with me. We crashed through the underbrush. Branches tore at my clothes. My lungs burned. Behind us I heard more shouting. Flashlight beams swept through the trees. They were searching for us. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. Zoe stumbled. Caught her. Lily cried against my chest. I pressed my hand over her mouth gently to muffle the sound. I hated myself for it. We reached a small ravine. I slid down the slope with both girls clutched against me. We hit the bottom hard. I bit back a cry of pain. My ankle screamed. I ignored it and pushed us up the other side. The voices grew fainter, but I kept running. I didn't stop until my legs gave out. We collapsed behind a fallen tree. I held both girls tight. We sat in the dark and tried to breathe quietly. Minutes passed like hours. The forest fell silent. I couldn't hear anyone following. But I didn't move. I couldn't risk it. Zoe pressed against me. She was shaking from cold and fear. I'm sorry, she whispered. This is my fault. No, I said fiercely. None of this is your fault. Do you hear me? None of it. Lily had finally quieted. I adjusted her in the carrier. My entire body ached. I knew we couldn't stay here. It was too cold. We had no supplies. No plan. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Of course. I was about to put it away when I noticed something. A text from an unknown number. Sent hours ago. Derek. This is Sarah. I'm sorry. They found me. They know about you. Get Zoe to the city. To the courthouse. There's a lawyer named Dominic Webb. He has everything. He'll keep you safe. Trust him. I'm so sorry. My blood ran cold. Sarah had been compromised. We'd been running from the wrong people. Or she had betrayed us from the start. I didn't know which was worse. But I had a name now. Dominic Webb. And a destination. I stood slowly. My ankle protested but held. "Come on," I said to Zoe. "We have a long walk ahead of us." We moved through the woods for hours. The sun rose slowly. Birds started singing. The world looked peaceful, beautiful, as if it didn't care that we were running for our lives. We reached a road around noon. I flagged down a truck. The driver was an older beta woman with kind eyes. She took one look at us and didn't ask questions. She drove us to the nearest bus station. I bought 3 tickets to the city with the last of my cash. We climbed onto the bus and found seats in the back. Zoe fell asleep immediately. I stared out the window and tried to plan, tried to think, but exhaustion pulled at me. My eyes closed despite my best efforts. I woke to someone touching my shoulder. A man stood in the aisle. He wore a gray suit. His expression was neutral, professional. "Derek Sullivan?" he asked quietly. My hand moved to Zoe instinctively. "Who are you?" "My name is Dominic Webb. Sarah sent me to find you. You're safe now. I promise." I stared at him. I had learned not to trust promises. But I had no other choice. No other leads. No other hope. "Prove it," I said. He pulled out a phone and showed me a photo. Connor and Sarah together, smiling, in a laboratory. On the back of the photo was a handwritten note. Asterisk, "If you're reading this, trust Dominic. He's one of the good ones." Connor asterisk. The handwriting matched the signature on Zoe's birth certificate I had found in her backpack. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Okay." Dominic smiled. It was a genuine smile, one that reached his eyes. "Come with me. We have a lot to discuss. Comment below if you saw that twist coming, because I bet you did not. And do not forget to like and subscribe if you are enjoying this wild ride." Dominic led us off the bus and to a black SUV. I hesitated. He noticed. "I know you've been through hell," he said. "I know you have no reason to trust me. But I've been working with Connor for 6 months. Building a case against Meridian. Gathering evidence. He was going to testify. His death doesn't end this. It makes it stronger. But I need Zoe safe. I need you safe. You're witnesses now." "Witnesses to what?" I asked. "To murder. To corporate conspiracy. To crimes that could bring down one of the most powerful companies in the world." I looked at Zoe. She was watching Dominic with those same silver eyes. She had her father's eyes. His courage too, probably. She deserved justice. She deserved the truth. I got in the SUV. Dominic drove us to a secure location downtown. Not a safe house this time. An actual office building with security and cameras and people everywhere. He led us to a conference room on the top floor. Other lawyers sat around a table. They looked up when we entered. "This is Derek Sullivan," Dominic said. "And this is Zoe James. They're going to help us take down Meridian." The next hours passed in a blur. They asked me questions. I answered as best I could. They showed me documents, videos, evidence that Connor had collected. He had been thorough, meticulous. He had known he might not survive. So he had made sure the truth would. One video showed him talking directly to the camera. His face was bruised. He looked exhausted. But his voice was steady. "If you're watching this, I'm probably dead," he said. "But my daughter is alive. And the person protecting her is stronger than they know. Meridian thinks they can silence me, bury my research, continue profiting from Omega oppression. But they're wrong, because the truth is already out there, in the right hands. Derek, if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for saving my daughter, for being brave when I couldn't be. You gave her a chance at life. Now give yourself one too. Trust Dominic. Finish what I started." The video ended. The room fell silent. I felt tears on my face. I hadn't realized I was crying. Zoe climbed into my lap. She hugged me tight. I held her and let myself break for just a moment. Dominic gave me time. Then he leaned forward. "Derek, we go public tomorrow. Press conference. All the evidence. But we need you to testify. You and Zoe. You're the human element. The story that makes people care. Will you do it?" I looked at Zoe. She nodded. She was so young but so brave. "Yes," I said. "We'll do it." The next morning we stood in front of cameras and reporters and the entire world. Dominic spoke first. He laid out the case, the evidence, the crimes. Then he introduced us. I stepped up to the microphone. My hands shook. Lily was with a social worker in the back room. Safe. Protected. Zoe stood beside me. My name is Derek Sullivan, I said. 2 weeks ago I was nobody. A single Omega parent working 2 jobs just to survive. Then a dying man asked me to protect his daughter. I didn't know him. I didn't know what I was getting into. But I made a promise. And keeping that promise cost me everything. My home. My safety. My peace. But I would do it again. Because Zoe deserves a world where corporations can't murder people who threaten their profits. Where Omegas aren't treated as commodities. Where the truth matters more than money. The cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. I ignored them all. I looked directly into the main camera. Meridian Corporation tried to bury Connor James's research. They tried to kill him. They tried to take his daughter. But they failed. Because sometimes ordinary people do extraordinary things. And sometimes the truth is stronger than power. I stepped back. Dominic took over. He fielded questions. Announced lawsuits. Promised criminal investigations. Zoe held my hand tight. After, we were escorted to a secure hotel. Federal agents would guard us until the trial. Dominic said it could take months, maybe years. But Meridian was already in chaos. Their stock had plummeted. Executives were resigning. The truth was spreading faster than they could control. That night I sat in the hotel room with both girls. Lily slept in a crib. Zoe colored at the small table. She looked up at me. "Derek?" she said. "Yes, sweetie? Are we a family now?" The question broke me and healed me at the same time. I pulled her into my arms. "Yes," I said. "We're a family." She smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from her. "Good. Because I love you. And I love Lily. And I don't want to live anywhere else." I kissed the top of her head. "You don't have to. We're together now. No matter what happens. We're together." But even as I said it, I knew our story wasn't over. Because the next morning Dominic arrived with news. His face was pale, serious. "Derek, we have a problem," he said. "Meridian isn't going down without a fight. They found something. Something about you. Something they're going to use." My heart sank. "What?" He handed me a folder. I opened it. Inside were medical records. My medical records. From 5 years ago. From before Lily was born. "I don't understand," I said. Dominic looked at me with something like pity. "Derek, according to these records, you're not just an Omega. You're a carrier of a rare genetic mutation. The same mutation Connor was researching. The one that would make his treatment work. Meridian is claiming you stole Zoe not to protect her but to sell her to their competitors. They're saying you knew about the research all along. That you and Connor were working together." "No," I said. "That's insane. I didn't know anything. I'd never even heard of Meridian before that night." "I know," Dominic said. "But they have evidence. Emails between you and Connor from months ago. Financial transactions. They're very convincing forgeries. And without Connor alive to refute them, this becomes your word against a multinational corporation with unlimited resources." The room spun. Everything I had done. Everything I had sacrificed. And now they were going to paint me as a criminal. As a conspirator. I would lose Zoe. I would lose Lily. I would lose everything. Unless, Dominic said slowly, unless we use their own strategy against them. I looked up. "What do you mean?" He pulled out another folder. "Connor didn't just send me his research. He sent me something else. Insurance. Evidence that Meridian has been conducting illegal experiments on Omegas for decades. Without consent. Using vulnerable populations. Creating the very mutations they now claim to want to cure. The mutation you carry? They gave it to you. 5 years ago when you participated in what you thought was a routine medical study. My blood went cold. I remembered that study. I needed money. They paid volunteers. I spent 3 days in a facility answering questions and giving blood samples. They said it was harmless. Routine. They lied, Dominic said. They infected you with an engineered virus. One designed to alter Omega genetics. To create test subjects for their research. You're not just a witness, Derek. You're a victim. And you're proof of their crimes. Couldn't breathe. I looked at Zoe, at Lily. They had done this to me. They had changed me without my knowledge. Without my consent. And now they wanted to use it against me. So we tell the truth, I said. All of it. We show the world what they really are. Dominic nodded. We hold another press conference. Tomorrow. We show everything. The experiments. The victims. The cover-ups. We burn them to the ground. But Derek, he said quietly, once we do this, your life changes forever. You'll never be anonymous again. You'll always be the man who took down Meridian. The face of this fight. Are you ready for that? I thought about Connor. About his last words. About the trust he placed in me. I thought about Zoe growing up in a world where corporations could do whatever they wanted to people like us. I thought about Lily. About the future I wanted for her. I'm ready, I said. If you have made it this far in the story, you are amazing. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. This is only the beginning. The second press conference was different. Bigger. Angrier. We didn't just present evidence. We presented victims. Dozens of Omegas who had participated in Meridian studies. Who had been changed without their knowledge. Who had suffered complications. Lost pregnancies. Developed chronic illnesses. All in the name of profit and research. I stood at that microphone again. But this time I wasn't just protecting Zoe. I was fighting for all of us. My name is Derek Sullivan, I said. And Meridian Corporation experimented on me. They altered my genetics without my consent. They created the very problem they now claim to want to solve. And they did it to hundreds of people. Maybe thousands. We don't know the full scale yet. But we will find out. Because this ends now. The fallout was immediate. Criminal investigations launched in multiple countries. Class action lawsuits filed. Meridian's board was arrested. Their assets frozen. It would take years to unravel everything they had done. But it had started. The truth was out. Dominic became our lawyer, our advocate, our friend. He helped me get custody of Zoe officially. The courts fast-tracked the adoption when they learned the full story. She was mine now, legally, permanently. We found a small house outside the city. Nothing fancy, but it had a yard where the girls could play. It had a garden where I could grow vegetables. It had neighbors who waved and didn't ask too many questions. I started working at a nonprofit that supported Omega rights, using my experience to help others. Zoe started kindergarten. She made friends. She laughed. She healed slowly. We both did. Lily grew. She took her first steps in that house. Said her first words. Papa. Zoe. Home. But some nights I still woke up in a panic. Still heard car engines in the dark. Still felt the fear of those weeks running and hiding. Dominic said it would fade with time. I wasn't sure I believed him. One evening, 6 months after everything ended, someone knocked on my door. I tensed automatically. Old habits. I looked through the peephole. A man stood there. Tall. Dark hair. Kind eyes. He held flowers. I opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? Derek Sullivan? He asked. My name is Daniel Reeves. I was Connor's colleague. I heard about what you did. About how you protected Zoe. About how you brought down Meridian. I wanted to thank you. And to ask if maybe you'd like to get coffee sometime. I stared at him. At his nervous smile. At the flowers he offered. I hadn't thought about dating. About moving forward. About anything beyond survival and fatherhood. I have 2 kids, I said. And a lot of baggage. And I'm kind of famous now in a really weird way. I know, he said. I don't care. I just think you're remarkable. And I'd like to get to know you. No pressure. Just coffee. Behind me, Zoe peeked around the corner. She looked at Daniel. Then at me. Then she smiled. I like him, she announced. He has nice flowers. I laughed. Felt good. Normal. Real. Okay, I said to Daniel. Coffee sounds nice. He smiled. It was a genuine smile, one that made something warm bloom in my chest. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope maybe, or possibility, or just the simple pleasure of someone seeing me as more than a survivor. We made plans. He left. I closed the door and leaned against it. Zoe hugged my legs. I think Daddy would like him too, she said softly. My throat tightened. Yeah, sweetie. I think he would. That night I put both girls to bed. I read them stories, sang lullabies, kissed their foreheads. Then I sat on the porch and looked at the stars. I thought about Connor, about the impossible choice he made trusting me with his daughter, about how one moment of compassion had changed everything. I pulled out my phone. I opened the video Connor had left. I watched it again. His face filled the screen, bruised but determined, exhausted but unbroken. Thank you for saving my daughter, he said. For being brave when I couldn't be. You gave her a chance at life. Now give yourself one too. I wiped my eyes. Okay, Connor, I whispered. I'll try, because I had spent so long just surviving, just getting through each day. But maybe it was time to do more than survive. Maybe it was time to actually live. The next morning, Zoe and Lily and I made breakfast together. Pancakes with too much syrup, orange juice that spilled, laughter that filled every corner of the house. It was messy and chaotic and absolutely perfect. We were building something, not just a family, but a life. One small moment at a time, one brave choice at a time, one day at a time. And for the first time since that night in the emergency room, I felt like maybe everything would be okay. Maybe we would be okay. But then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Derek Sullivan? A voice said. You don't know me, but I know you. I know what you did to Meridian, and I want to help you finish the job. Because they're not done. They're just getting started. And if you want to stop them, you need to know the truth. The real truth. About what Connor discovered. About what he died protecting. Meet me tonight. Alone. I'll text you the location. Come alone or don't come at all. The line went dead. My heart pounded. I looked at my girls playing in the living room. At the life we had built. At the peace we had finally found. And I knew that peace was about to shatter again. Because the truth was never simple. And some fights never really ended. They just changed shape. Evolved. Waited for the right moment to strike back. I stared at the phone for a full minute after the call ended. My hands trembled. Zoe looked up from her coloring book. Derek? You okay? I forced a smile. Yeah, sweetie. Just work stuff. But it wasn't work stuff. It was the past reaching forward to drag me back. I could ignore the call. Delete the text when it came. Pretend I never heard that voice. But I knew I wouldn't. Because if Meridian was still operating, still hurting people, I had to know. The text arrived an hour later. An address. A warehouse district on the edge of town. Midnight. Come alone. Every thriller movie I'd ever seen told me this was a trap. But every instinct in my body told me I had to go. I called Dominic. Don't do this, he said immediately. It's obviously a setup. Let me send someone with you. Or better yet, let me go instead. No. They asked for me specifically. If I bring anyone, they won't show. But I need you on standby. If you don't hear from me by 1 a.m., call the police. Derek. I'll be fine. I have to be. I hung up before he could argue more. That night, I tucked both girls into bed extra carefully. I memorized their faces, their sleepy smiles, just in case. Daniel had texted earlier asking about our coffee date. I told him something came up. Rain check. He sent back a thumbs up and a smiley face. Normal. Simple. Everything my life wasn't. At 11:30 I drove to the warehouse district. The streets were empty. Street lights flickered. My car sounded too loud in the silence. I found the address. A massive brick building that looked abandoned. Broken windows. Graffiti on the walls. I parked and got out. The night air was cold. I could see my breath. I walked to the entrance. The door was unlocked, creaked as I pushed it open. "Hello," I called. My voice echoed. "Nothing." I stepped inside. The interior was dark except for a single light in the center of the space. It illuminated a metal chair, papers scattered on the ground around it. I walked forward slowly. My footsteps echoed. When I reached the light, I looked down at the papers. Medical records, research notes, photographs, all related to Meridian's experiments. But something was wrong. These weren't Connor's documents. These were new, recent, post-shutdown. "You came," a voice said from the darkness. I spun around. A woman stepped into the light. She was young, maybe 30. She wore jeans and a leather jacket. Her eyes were hard, haunted. "Who are you?" I asked. "My name is Rachel. I'm Connor's sister." My breath caught. Connor never mentioned a sister. But looking at her, I could see the resemblance. The same silver-gray eyes. The same determined jaw. "Why did you call me here?" Rachel pulled out a flash drive. "Because Connor didn't tell you everything. He couldn't. It was too dangerous. But now you need to know." "Know what?" She handed me the drive. Connor's research wasn't just about omega biology. It was about compatibility, about bonding, about the genetic markers that make true mates possible. I frowned. True mates are a myth. Romantic nonsense. That's what Meridian wanted everyone to believe. Because if people knew the truth, that true mate bonds can be identified and predicted genetically, it would change everything. Arranged marriages, forced bonding, genetic matching services. The amount of money and power involved would be astronomical. My stomach turned. And Connor discovered this? He discovered more than that. He discovered that the mutation Meridian gave you wasn't random. They were trying to create artificial compatibility markers, to engineer true mate bonds, to play God with people's lives and their biology. Why would they do that? Rachel's expression darkened. Because Connor's husband, Zoe's other father, was part of the control group. They wanted to see if natural bonding could be disrupted by introducing artificial markers. Connor didn't know. Not until after he died. When he found the truth in the medical records. That's why he ran. Why he took Zoe. Because she inherited markers from both her parents. Natural and artificial. She's unique. Valuable. They'll never stop trying to get her back. My legs felt weak. I sat down hard on the metal chair. This can't be real. It is real. And there's more. Rachel stepped closer. Her eyes locked on mine. The reason Meridian gave you that mutation specifically, the reason they chose you for their study 5 years ago, is because you already had dormant compatibility markers. Rare ones. They were trying to activate them. To see if they could force bonding with specific targets. I felt sick. Are you saying they tried to engineer who I would bond with? Yes. And according to Connor's research, it worked. The markers activated exactly as they planned. I stood up fast. The chair clattered behind me. No, I don't have a bond with anyone. I've been alone this entire time. Have you? Rachel tilted her head. Think about it, Derek. When was the last time you felt drawn to someone? When was the last time someone's scent affected you more than it should? When was the last time you felt a pull you couldn't explain? My mind raced. I thought about the ER. About Connor's scent hitting me like a wall. About how my body responded to him even as he was dying. About how I made promises I shouldn't have made. Protected a child I didn't know. Threw away my entire life without hesitation. No, I whispered. That wasn't a bond. That was just compassion. Was it? Or was it the markers responding to each other? Connor and you were compatible, Derek. Genetically designed to be. That's why he trusted you. Why his dying instinct was to give Zoe to you specifically. Why you couldn't walk away even when every logical part of you screamed to run. I backed away. This is insane. Bonds don't work on dead people. Even if what you're saying is true, Connor is gone. It doesn't matter anymore. Rachel's expression turned sad. You're right. Connor is gone. But the bond doesn't care about that. Once activated, compatibility markers remain active. Searching. Waiting. For what? For another match. The warehouse door burst open. Footsteps pounded toward us. Rachel grabbed my arm. We have to go. Now. Who is that? Meridian. They've been tracking me. I led them right to you. I'm sorry. But you needed to know the truth before they take you. Take me? What are you talking about? You're valuable, Derek. You have activated markers. You proved the treatment works. They won't kill you. They'll use you, study you, make you disappear. I ran. Rachel pulled me toward a back exit. We crashed through a door into an alley. I could hear shouting behind us. Rachel pointed to a motorcycle. Get on. I don't know how to ride. Then hold on tight. I climbed on behind her. She started the engine. We peeled out just as men in suits emerged from the warehouse. They shouted. One pulled a gun. Rachel swerved. The bullet hit the brick wall beside us. Sparks flew. She accelerated. We shot down the alley and onto the main road. The city blurred past. I held on and tried not to scream. Where are we going? I shouted over the wind. Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you. What about my daughters? Already taken care of. Dominic is with them. They're safe. I called him before I called you. We drove for what felt like hours. Finally, Rachel pulled into a parking garage. We took the elevator to the top floor. She led me to a door and knocked in a specific pattern. The door opened. Daniel stood there. My heart stopped. What are you doing here? He looked at Rachel, then at me. His expression was apologetic. Guilty. I'm sorry, Derek. I should have told you from the beginning. Told me what? Rachel stepped inside. I followed numbly. The apartment was small but secure. Monitors showed camera feeds from multiple locations, including my house. I could see Dominic with my girls. They were sleeping peacefully. Daniel closed the door. He locked multiple deadbolts. Then he turned to face me. My real name is Daniel Reeves. I'm a federal agent. I've been investigating Meridian for 3 years. Connor was my informant. When he died, I was assigned to protect his family. That means Zoe. And that means you. I felt like the floor had dropped away. Our coffee date was real, he said quickly. My interest in you was real. But yes, I was also assigned to watch you, to keep you safe, to make sure Meridian didn't try anything. I backed toward the door. I need to leave. I need to get to my girls. You can't, Rachel said. Not yet. Meridian has people watching your house. Watching Dominic. The only reason Zoe and Lily are safe right now is because you're not there. They want you, Derek. If you go back, you lead them right to the girls. Then what do? I shouted. I just abandon them? No, Daniel said. You trust us. Let me bring down Meridian for real this time. Let me finish what Connor started. But I need you to stay hidden. Just for a little while. How long? A week. Maybe 2. We're close. We have enough evidence now to arrest the remaining board members. To seize their offshore accounts. To shut down every subsidiary and research facility. But if they grab you first, all of that disappears. You're their last bargaining chip. I sank onto the couch. My head spun. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. Connor. Daniel. My own body. All of it manipulated. Controlled. Designed. Did you know? I asked Daniel. About the compatibility markers? About what they did to me? He shook his head. Not until tonight. I knew about the genetic experiments. But I didn't know about the bonding research. That was classified above my clearance level. I laughed bitterly. So what now? I sit here and wait while my daughters wonder where I am? While Zoe thinks I abandoned her just like everyone else. We'll tell them you're safe, Rachel said gently. That you're working to protect them. They'll understand. Zoe is 5 years old. She doesn't understand anything except that her father died and now I'm gone too. Silence filled the room. Daniel sat beside me, not too close, giving me space. But his presence was warm, steady. His scent, earthy and clean, like pine and rain. wrapped around me in a way that should have been alarming but felt right. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For all of it. You deserved better than this. You deserved the truth from the beginning." I looked at him, at his kind eyes, at the guilt written across his face. Part of me wanted to hate him, to rage at him for lying, but I was too tired, too broken. "Just promise me they'll be okay," I whispered. "Promise me Meridian won't get to them. I promise. On my life, Derek. I'll protect them." I nodded. I had no choice but to believe him. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I stayed in that apartment, watched my girls through cameras, saw them playing, eating, going to school, living their lives without me. Dominic told them I was on a business trip, that I would be home soon. Zoe cried herself to sleep most nights. Lily kept asking for Papa. I watched it all and felt my heart break over and over. Daniel stayed with me. We talked. He told me about his investigation, about the things Meridian had done, the people they had hurt. He showed me files on dozens of victims, hundreds, maybe thousands, all in the name of profit and control. And he told me about the compatibility markers, about how rare they were, about how most people never activated them, about how what Meridian did to me wasn't just unethical, it was dangerous, because forcing markers to activate could cause psychological damage, obsessive behavior, depression, anxiety, all things I had experienced over the past 5 years. "You're stronger than they thought you would be," he said one night. "Most people who went through what you did fell apart. You raised a daughter, saved another, brought down a corporation. You're remarkable, Derek." I looked at him. We were sitting on the couch, too close. I could smell his scent more clearly now. It made my Omega instincts hum with recognition. "Daniel," I said slowly, "do you have compatibility markers?" He went very still. "Yes." "How did you know?" "Because I can feel them. I can feel the pull. It's not as overwhelming as what I felt with Connor, but it's there." He met my eyes. "Derek." "Don't," I said. "Don't apologize. Don't explain. Just tell me the truth. Are we compatible?" He nodded slowly. "According to the tests I ran after Rachel told me about the bonding research, yes. We have compatible markers. Natural ones. Not engineered." "So Meridian didn't create this?" "No. This is real. But Derek, I'll never use that against you. I'll never pressure you or expect anything. You've been through too much. You deserve to choose freely, without biology interfering." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I leaned in and kissed him. He froze. Then he kissed me back. Gentle, careful, like I was something precious. When we pulled apart, I rested my forehead against his. "I'm choosing," I whispered. "I'm choosing you. Not because of markers or genetics or fate. Because you make me feel safe. Because you protect my daughters. Because you're kind and honest and everything I didn't know I needed." He cupped my face. His thumb brushed my cheek. "Are you sure?" "Yes." We spent that night tangled together, finding comfort, finding connection, finding something real beneath all the manipulation and lies. His alpha pheromones mixed with mine in a way that felt natural, inevitable. Not forced by science but drawn together by choice. The next morning Rachel burst through the door. "It's done. Meridian's executives were arrested an hour ago. All of them. The facilities are being raided. The research is being seized. It's over." I jumped up. "Can I go home?" "Yes. Daniel is already cleared to take you. Your girls are waiting." We drove fast. Too fast. I didn't care. When we pulled up to my house, the door flew open. Zoe and Lily ran out. Dominic followed behind them. "Papa!" they screamed. I fell to my knees and caught them both. I held them so tight I thought I might break. Tears streamed down my face. I kissed their heads over and over. "I missed you so much," I sobbed. "I'm so sorry I was gone. I'm so sorry." "It's okay," Zoe whispered. "Uncle Dominic said you were keeping us safe, that you were being brave again." I pulled back to look at her. "You understand?" She nodded. Her silver eyes were wise beyond her years. Daddy was brave. And you're brave. And now we get to be safe together. Yes, baby. We get to be safe. Daniel stood back, giving us space. But Zoe pulled away from me and ran to him. She hugged his legs. Are you staying? She asked. Please stay. He looked at me. I nodded. He smiled. Yeah, kiddo. I'm staying. And he did. Daniel moved in 6 months later. We got married a year after that. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Dominic officiated. Rachel was my best woman. Zoe and Lily were flower girls who spent more time eating petals than throwing them. We built a life. A real one. Daniel left the bureau and started working with Dominic at the nonprofit. I continued advocating for Omega rights, using my story to help others. We had another baby 2 years later. A boy. We named him Connor. Zoe grew up strong and fierce. She became an activist. A voice for victims. She testified at trials. Spoke at conferences. Made her father proud every single day. Lily became a scientist. She studied genetics. Determined to understand what had been done to us. To make sure it never happened again. And me? I learned that family wasn't always blood. That love wasn't always biology. That sometimes the most powerful bonds were the ones you chose. Not the ones designed for you. But late at night, when everyone was asleep, I still sometimes thought about Connor. About that moment in the ER. About how one dying alpha's trust changed everything. I whispered thank you into the darkness, hoping somehow he knew. Hoping he could see that his daughter was loved. Protected. Thriving. And I thought maybe somewhere he was at peace. Because we all were. Finally. Truly. Home. Thank you for journeying with me through this story. If it moved you, if it made you feel something, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that explore the depths of love, courage, and the families we choose. Drop a comment and tell me what you thought about the story, and stay tuned, because there are more stories coming that will take you to places you never expected. Until next time, hold tight to the people you love and never underestimate the power of one brave choice. Epilogue. 5 years later, I stood in a courtroom as the final Meridian executive received his sentence. 30 years. No parole. The judge's gavel came down with finality. Dominic squeezed my shoulder. It's really over now. I looked around the courtroom. Rachel sat in the gallery, tears streaming down her face. Daniel held our youngest, Connor, who was trying to eat the tie clip on his father's suit. Zoe sat between Lily and Ryan, her boyfriend, a kind beta she'd met in college. They all looked at me with pride. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. But I didn't need to say anything more. My story had been told. The victims had been heard. Justice had been served. We went home, all of us, to the house that had grown from a small refuge into a sprawling home filled with life. That evening, we gathered in the backyard for a barbecue. Dominic brought his new partner, an Omega named Ryan who made him laugh more than I'd ever seen. Rachel came with her wife, an artist who'd painted a portrait of Connor that hung in our living room. As the sun set and the kids played in the yard, Daniel wrapped his arms around me from behind. His scent enveloped me, that perfect mix of pine and rain that still made my heart skip. Happy? He asked. I leaned back against him, watching Zoe push Lily on the swing, while little Connor toddled after them with determined steps. Yes, I said. Finally. And I meant it. Because all of this was what Connor had died protecting. Not just his daughter, but the possibility of choice, of love freely given, of bonds formed not by corporate design but by human connection. We were proof that even when powerful forces tried to play God with our lives, the human spirit could not be broken. We were survivors. We were fighters. We were family. And we were home. Thank you for reading Derek's journey. If the story moved you, please subscribe and remember that the most powerful thing we can do is choose compassion, choose bravery, and choose love, even when the cost seems too high. Sometimes one choice, one moment of courage, can change everything.